I left you a note.
Don't forget to introduce Reese.
Yes. Hello, everybody. We're going to get started in a minute, so I'll ask you to please try and find a seat. We're going to get started in about 1 minute. You got 3 copies of that now. I didn't have to print you out one. It's just got the wrong council numbers on it. You guys ready? Okay. Good evening and welcome to the District 5 Budget Town Hall meeting. We're very happy to see you. My name is Chris Trumbauer. I work for County Executive Steward Pittman, and I'll be serving as your MC tonight. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of how tonight's going to work. We're going to start off with some brief opening statements by the councilwoman and by the county exec. Then the county executive has a very short slideshow presentation that he'll go through up on the screen. Then we get to the fun part, which is public comments. So you'll see we've got 2 microphones, one at the head of each aisle, and at the appropriate time, I will begin reading from our list of folks who have signed up to testify. If you've been following the other meetings, you've seen that we've given everyone 3 minutes. I have good news, bad news. The good news is so many of you guys have signed up to speak. We're very excited about that. The bad news is we're going to have to make an executive decision to scale down to 2 minutes to make sure that we get everybody a chance to have their opinion heard tonight. So that will be the main part of the event, and then we'll close off the evening with closing remarks from both the county executive and the county council woman. When you are speaking, we have a nice sign to let you know when 30 seconds is left in your remarks to help you wrap up in your time frame. But this seems like a very polite crowd. I'm sure you won't go over time, right? So with that, I'd like to start off with introducing your District 5 County Councilwoman, Amanda Fiedler.
Thank you. I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. I know weekdays are busy and can be challenging, but we have a great turnout, so thank you for that. I want to take a brief moment to acknowledge my legislative aide, Pam Scarborough, in the back. If you have contacted my office recently or since I was sworn in, you have likely talked to Pam. Pam keeps my office running smoothly, and I couldn't do what I do without her. While I have only been in office for about 4 months, this is actually my 4th year attending the county executive's budget town hall. And I want to thank our county executive for not only hosting the 2 that are required by our charter, but hosting 7. This brings government to your back door, which I certainly support. And makes government accessible to you. I also think that this format is the best opportunity for you not only to share your concerns, needs with us, but also for your fellow community members to hear what those are. And it gives them an opportunity and perspective to hear issues that maybe they're not focused on and understand how we have to make hard decisions in the future. I'll be brief. The more that I talk, the less that you get an opportunity to talk. So tonight is our opportunity to hear from you on the upcoming budget. While you share your priorities on the budget, I encourage you to also think of how you want those needs met. Historically, Anne Arundel County has been known for its conservative tax approach. I'm fiscally conservative and ran supporting our property tax cap. And over the last 4 years, our county has seen consistent growth in revenue. We anticipate over $57 million in increased revenue for FY20 based on the current tax rate. That's a big number, but it will go quickly because we also have growing needs in our county. So please be sure to share tonight, where do you think additional revenue should come from, because that's an important piece of the conversation as well. My notepad is ready to take notes, and I'm excited to hear from you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And now it's my pleasure to introduce your County Executive, Steward Pittman.
Great to be in Severna Park. So this is number 6 of 7. The last of these is in Annapolis on Thursday night, and then we'll be done with this part of the process, which is my favorite part of the process. The other part of this budget process has been in our office, and that's when all the department heads come in with their budget requests. And that's not nearly as much fun, although we try to have a few laughs during that process. I put up a Facebook post with me and a chainsaw at the beginning of it, and they all come in, and it makes them nervous, but that's okay. We've gone through the capital improvement budgets as well, and that's another daunting task. The needs, as we know, are huge everywhere, and there's only so much money to go around. So I did feel strongly that we needed to do 7 of these, and I also felt strongly that we needed to do them in each district, that I needed to do them with each county council person. So it's an honor to be doing this with Amanda Fiedler, who I've met with a number of times already and will continue to meet. She came to me with her priorities for her district, and I know that she's not going to let me forget about those priorities. I also want to recognize we have here Reese Peak. Where is Reese? There he is. All right, he's right in the... Reese Peak is your constituent service representative for your district. So let him know what's going on, and he'll make sure I know what's going on. We have here also my Chief of Staff, Jen Purcell, in the back, right, waving her arms, as well as our Chief Administrative Officer, Ben Burge, right up here in the front. Both of them have been at all of these meetings. Ben oversees each of the departments. He's their direct report, and Jen oversees our staff on the 4th floor. And, you know, I specifically told the department heads they didn't have to come to these because I thought it was a bit of a stretch to come to 7 of these evening meetings. But I can't seem to keep some of them away. So we have Chris Phipps here, Head of Public Works. Chris, could you? There he is. All right. And Chris has a habit of, when you stand up and you say that there's a pothole somewhere or that we need to address traffic somewhere, he's actually emailing his staff and telling them in real time. So by the time you get home, it'll be fixed, right? Maybe. And we also have our new Director of Inspections and Permits, Greg Africa, here. Greg has been on the job a week and a half, and he did his budget presentation today. And I did not bring out the chainsaw, but it's great to have a new person at Inspections and Permits. He is very concerned about erosion and sediment control, in particular on construction sites, and he's come up with some ideas to do a better job in that department. I know stormwater management has been a huge issue in this district and all over the county. We're not here to talk about development issues, but I do want to say that we announced our new Citizens Advisory Committee for the General Development Plan, and it has a representative from each of the 16 small areas of Anne Arundel County, because we're trying to get back to more community-driven planning for the General Development Plan. And that we're going to be coming around and doing meetings in each of the small areas, so you will see me again during that process. It'll be going on throughout the rest of this year. So we have a short slide show here to give you some context for where we are, some of the things that we're looking at. So first slide is just the timeline. Who's in charge of the slides? Ah, okay. The first slide is the timeline for the budget. And we are here in March, where there's a circle right there, close to my head. It says you are here. And that's where we're doing, the Planning Advisory Board has already looked at all the capital improvements, and we're doing administrative review. That's what I described, where the department heads come in. And we look at their what it takes to continue providing the services that they're providing with inflation and labor contracts and pensions and things that have been increasing in costs. So the costs go up to continue the service, and the budget office tells us where that level is. And then they make supplemental requests to provide additional services to do a better job at whatever their department is. And it's my job to get a budget presented to the county council by May 1st. So we do our budget address May 1st, and then you have another crack at it through the county council that holds 2 hearings, I believe, out in the community, and then you can, of course, come down to the Arundel Center and let them know at the county council meetings what you think. And then the fiscal year starts July 1st. So the next one slide, just very briefly, revenue, the big blue is property taxes, about 44% of the revenue coming into the county. And then the orange is income tax, which is almost as big. That's the piggyback on the state tax. And everything else is small. So there's lots of fees that the county charges for things. There's some revenue that's not included here because it's part of a restricted fund. Impact fees is one of those. But income and property tax are the major sources. Next slide. And then on expenditures, education is number 1. 51.5% to the Board of Education and that's almost could be seen as a grant. They have discretion over it within the budget. They can move things around, and the school board is now half elected and is responding to you on the school board budget. But we have to decide how much of that budget we can provide. And we can't actually go above their request. We can only meet it or go below it. And then we have public safety is the other dark blue, is the next biggest, and then general government is most of the other agencies at 12%, and you can see some of those other slices are smaller. The next slide, we actually don't need to. This just points out that of that 51.5% that's for education, it's not all for the direct funding of the schools. There's 81 million of that is debt service on the investments that we're making in new schools, and 14 million school health, and 5.5 million for school resource officers, school safety, police. And the next one is really here because we put up a budget tool that you can access online. If you go to the county executives page of the AnneArundelCounty.org, you click in and you can play around with the budget. You can make your own budget, in fact. You can be county executive. It's a tool that was put together on just about 2 weeks' notice from the IT department. We were very impressed by that. Next year, there's going to be an even more robust tool for you to be able to really get deep into the budget. But it's got some of the costs. When you add things to the budget, of course, it turns red, and you have to figure out where the revenue comes from to be able to pay for what you add, and that's part of the whole idea of the exercise. But those are some of those costs. On the next slide, we have some of the capital costs, things like $500,000 for an elementary school, $50 million. I wish it were $500,000. $100 million for a middle school, $150 million for a high school. Everything's expensive. You know, I'm a farm boy, and I look at these numbers, and my eyes pop out of my head, and it's really difficult to swallow some of what we do at the county level. Next slide. Oh, yes, that one. I think I'm missing that one on mine. Okay, fiscal expectations. They've actually, unfortunately, dropped the projections of what we're going to get in revenue this year. They were at 57 million. Now they're closer to 50 million in new revenue over last year because of our increasing tax base and people making a good economy, basically, creates more revenue for us. The downside of the increase, and I was very excited during the campaign about that. I thought, well, increase in revenue, that's how we pay for things. Then you find out about all the increased costs that you can't get away from, and those are at about $40 million that are non-discretionary. So debt service on the things other than schools that we're doing, the benefits, pensions, and health care, and some labor agreements where the second half is kicked in and we have to pay what we agreed to pay in those contracts. And that ends up to about 40. So, we'll be lucky if we have an extra $10 million in real money to do new things with without an adjustment on the revenue side. So if you look at the revenue side, next slide, what we did is we wanted to compare us to other counties to see where we stand. On the property tax side, you can see that most of us are pretty close at about $1 per $100 of value of property. And Anne Arundel County is at 90 cents. There's 4 counties below us. They go up to a bit over $1 until you get to Baltimore City, and it jumps up to $2.24. Be glad you don't live there for the property tax anyway. And anyway, we're at 90 cents. The next slide shows the trend over time in our property tax rate. If you go all the way back to 1990, we were at just over $1. So we were at about where the other counties are now in the central Maryland region. And we're at 90 cents now. And the slide after this is interesting. These are years where generally, because we have, I'll talk about the revenue cap. It was passed in '92 by the voters as a charter amendment. And it says that whatever the revenues are in any given year, you can't increase them by more than the rate of inflation. So as our tax base grows, we don't actually get that revenue. We lower the rate instead. If our tax base shrinks in a bad economy, then it goes up. But that's what happened in the upswing here. But when we have a good economy and our tax base is growing, the rate goes down. Most years, the county council and the county executive do the property tax rate at what the ceiling allows, the tax cap. The 4 circles here are election years where county executives wanted to get reelected, so they lowered the rate, lower taxes to get reelected. And what that does is it lowers that ceiling for future years when you lower it. So over time, it says here that we lost $470 million because of those adjustments that were made for political reasons. The next one is the income tax. We're at 2.5%. We're restricted by the state. We can't go above 3.2%. Fortunately for us, we're well below that. The central Maryland counties, the big 8, a bunch of them, I think it's 7 or 8 of them, are at 3.2%. They went to the max, so they can't go any higher. We're at 2.5%, and there are 2 counties below us. So when you combine the different tax efforts, the state says that we're 23rd out of 24 in the state. Talbot County is below us. So we're lucky. That's a good thing. We're lucky that our economy is good. But we have to hear about the needs and whether or not we need to invest more in ourselves. My view, obviously, most of you know that I ran saying education is very important and that we need to invest in it. It's been tough. We've been hearing a lot from libraries, been hearing a lot from police and fire, public safety, obviously, we all agree is important. And we're all concerned about the environment, public transportation. We live here. It's a great county. Big question is, do we invest more money in ourselves or do we keep it the way it is now? So as you come up and testify, I hope you'll tell us what you think the money should be spent on, but feel free to tell us where it should come from as well, or if you think that we should not make any changes. So that's why we're here, is to listen, and let's get rolling.
Thank you. Now we're to the fun part, the public participation part of our program. I have a list of folks that signed up. I'm going to go through them in the order they were given to me, and then after that, we will have an additional call for anybody who did not sign up but still wishes to speak. And we're going to go for 2 minutes, okay? 2 minutes. So if you've written the perfect 3-minute testimony, try to use your time now to shave that down just a tad, if you would. Okay, so I'm going to call 5 names at a time, and if you'll just come up and either sit in the front row or stack up behind the mics, that would be great. And my pronunciation will be as good as your handwriting. So Rick Mudd, Noel Chow, Aaron Keel, Kathy Sitzwo, and Samantha Zeline. If you'll please come up. And before you start, please state your name so we know who you are. Thank you.
On the clock?
Go for it.
On the clock. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Rick Mudd, and I've lived here in Severna Park for 10 years with my 3 wife and kids. I do have the perfect 3-minute speech that I'm going to talk fast and get through in 2. There are many important needs to be addressed in the county budget. I'm here to voice my support for year-round recreational opportunities for our youth, for our seniors, and for all ages in between, specifically the tennis center in Millersville Park. Capital funding for the tennis center is currently in the Rec and Parks budget, and I urge the county council to continue to support this budget item. I am the only speaker here to address this budget item for the Tennis Alliance. However, there are several local residents here tonight to demonstrate their support for this center. If you could all stand now. I love it. Thank you. Thank you for coming. You can sit back down. Okay, this project is 6 years in the making. It is a public-private partnership with the Tennis Alliance of Anne Arundel County and Rec and Parks, sharing the cost of the project. This plan allows the county to save money, to leverage private funding, and to deliver a community resource that benefits residents across generations. Our students will have more after-school programming, summer camps, and a home for quality junior training programs. Our seniors will have a place to play a life sport in which they stay active and engage in the community. The Tennis Center will continue partnerships to serve under-resourced communities, such as the Special Olympics and the Hispanic Latino community, promoting active, engaging, and healthy lifestyles. Anne Arundel County has a shortage of indoor recreational space. We literally have 1 indoor court. The Tennis Center fills a long overdue need one which has caused residents to go out of the county to play competitive tennis. I am a tennis player. My wife and my 3 children are all tennis players, but this center isn't personal to me just for my family. I believe this tennis center will be a huge asset to the county because it serves residents of all ages, genders, races, and backgrounds. Tennis is a life sport. Tennis is one of the few sports that can make that claim. Please support the project. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Noelle Chow, and I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of the Anne Arundel Watershed Stewards Academy. Full disclosure, I loved volunteering with WSA so much and believed so strongly in the organization's mission that last June I left my job as a professor at the Naval Academy and joined their staff full-time. The Watershed Stewards Academy trains master watershed stewards to help their neighbors reduce pollution in local creeks and rivers. Launched in 2009, the organization builds capacity of residents to reduce pollutants entering local waterways. WSA's certification course gives stewards the tools to implement change in their communities, neighborhoods, schools, congregations, businesses, by turning knowledge into action. Stewards work with their communities to install projects such as rain gardens and conservation landscapes and reduce pollution at its source. Collectively, these small community-based actions are improving the health of the larger Chesapeake Bay watershed. WSA envisions every community in Anne Arundel County actively engaged to ensure clean water, and our mission is to develop citizen leaders to promote community change so that we can reduce stormwater pollution. We serve as the hub where anyone interested in working on water protection can come together. We connect residents to our team of over 220 master watershed stewards who serve in their communities, facilitating real change to improve our waterways. Collectively, our stewards have installed over 2,500 projects from rain barrels to stream restorations. Collectively, our stewards have engaged over 135,000 citizens in our county. Collectively, our stewards' actions, both large and small, have made a big difference. I'll only add that I became a steward because my community, Pines on the Severn, was offered the chance to become a clean water community. For a long time, residents in Pines had known about the problems caused by stormwater runoff, but they had been unsure what to do. Today, I can say with certainty that WSA has transformed Pines, empowering me and my neighbors by giving us the knowledge, the resources, and the connections to chart the best path forward. WSA inspires ordinary citizens to do powerful, necessary work for clean water, and on behalf of all the assembled stewards here, I ask you to continue to fund our invaluable program. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Sitzwall, a devout Catholic and a resident of Millersville. The views of the loud minority have overcome the views of the quiet, passive majority. I, like many other Christians, make up a large part of Anne Arundel County. The public library is meant to serve the entire community, including the Christian population. We would like more funding to be devoted to Christian programs that support the pro-life agenda, books that support the fact that children are born of a female mother and a male father. That is a fact that no one can deny. Books that support NFP, books about people who have overcome adversities through their faith, such as Marie-Françoise Therese Martin, who lost her mother at a very young age. Books about virtuous people who have made the world a better place, such as Isaac Jogues, who ministered to Native American Indians, Elizabeth Bailey Seton, Catherine Drexel from Philadelphia, Raymond Colby, who gave up his life for someone in a concentration camp, Fernando Martins de Bohuez, Carol Wattilia, Catherine Labouré of France, and one of my favorite people, a lawyer from London, England, Sir Thomas More. There are countless other reputable men and women throughout the world which merit our reading. We need books from publishers such as Ignatius, Ascension, Ave Maria, Seton, Loyola, Tumbler House, Sophia Institute, Emmaus Road Publishing, and Sapientia. Equal attention and consideration should be granted to Christian-themed books and programs as the secular books and programs at the library, and I would gladly assist with this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Aaron Keel. I'm a representative of the Severdale neighborhood, but I'm here to talk about two issues which are just important to me personally, the Kinder Farm Dog Park and the Severna Park Library. The Kinder Farm Dog Park is needed, and I encourage the county to pursue a phased opening plan as soon as possible. The demand for dog recreations with their owners nearby is very strong. The Severna Park Millersville area hosts over 11 veterinarians and at least 4 boarding and kennel facilities. The regional economics allow per capita household dog ownership to far exceed the national average. This means that there are more dogs per square mile in Severna Park and Millersville than most of the United States. There are some reality gaps with the problems with the current budget, but I think a phased opening can help address that. If you just put up the fences and the signage as soon as possible, you can perhaps do the water line in a more effective manner, cost effectively. Owners can bring their own water, and there's other water available in the park. And I know the budget includes funding for lighting at a park that's gated and closed from dusk till dawn. So there's really no lighting needed at a dog park in Kinder Park. And the other point I want to bring up are the libraries. The Anne Arundel County Library System is a great asset to the entire region. As a small business owner that requires I drive around the region quite a bit, I know that I can always reliably stop at a library, work for a half hour doing emails, sending stuff out without taking a retail table, and then get on my way and get back to work. So I encourage you to consider expanding the Severna Park Library, perhaps renovating it. It's just old, and for the size of the population it serves, it's undersized. That's all. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Council Executive Pittman and Council Member Fiedler. My name is Samantha Zline, and I work at the Severna Park Library, and I'm here testifying on behalf of the library's budget and want to talk about the impact of the library in our community. Severna Park and Broadneck Libraries are both in District 5, and they're very well-loved branches. We have over 430,000 visits a year, the two combined, and a lot of people come for our amazing programs. We've got weekly programs for preschoolers. I just had a mom tell me the other day she will no longer make plans on Tuesday mornings because she wants to come to our Babies in Bloom program. We have special events for kids. We have a Book Buddies program where we encourage kids to read a book and then come in and do an activity that ties into the book, like put on our virtual reality goggles and take a tour of the White House. We have a Minecraft program that we do once a month, and now we have teen volunteers helping with that program so they get their community service hours while helping kids work together and play Minecraft. We're trying to expand more into teen programming. We had 2 crafternoons where the kids came in and made blankets and stuffed animals and then donated them to a local shelter. Broadneck has a wonderful Pokemon club where the elementary elementary and middle school kids can get together and kind of bond over that common interest. We have lots of adult programs too. We have a guys book club at Severna Park that's been going for almost 10 years now, which you're welcome to join. We have our great movies program at Severna Park that happens once a month. We actually had a patron donate $500 for that program recently with a note that said, "More than entertaining, the movies at Severna Park are educational and promote fellowship among neighbors." Broadneck hosted the Inspiring Stories of African American Women, which is a presentation from local leaders about how they overcame barriers and achieved success in their fields. And the school system actually filmed that presentation to use in their Global Community Citizens course. Other partnerships we have in the area, we visited the elementary and the middle schools and all of the preschools. We have presented at the community college to talk about what the students can do to improve their coursework, and also the students that are trying to get their GEDs. Broadneck visits senior centers and does a book club there. And there's just so many things going on at the library at all the time. We're changing and evolving to better serve our diverse communities and our wide variety of interests in the area. So we welcome you to join us for any program, and thank you so much for supporting the library, and thank you for listening.
Okay, we'll call the next five names. Sam Brown, Rachael Juan, Thomas Shade, Jacqueline Shade, and Marilyn Mason, if you'll come up. And remember, state your name. You'll have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Sam Brown. I appreciate being here tonight. And I am here as a citizen of this district, number one. And number two, as the president of the Anne Arundel County Library Foundation. Now, as you all know, we are not the policymaking group. We are the fundraising group. And we're here because we like our funds to go to fund things, not the things that you really need at the library. For example, we need $2 million at the library just to keep even and bring us up to date from where we've been over the past couple years. And I know I'm not going to talk about the budget because you know what our budget is. You've seen our budget. In fact, you've seen a lot about the library. The first 5 people here, 3 of them talked about the library. So 60% of the people in Anne Arundel County like our library system, if you look at it that way. And I can use numbers any way you want, but
I think it's higher than 60.
I better be. But anyway, at least 3 out of 5 have shown to talk about it. And if I count me, that's 4 out of 6, so that's 2/3. But for the past 20 years, the libraries in Annapolis and all across America have been in the midst of a revolutionary change. Things have changed. Libraries are not just a place to get books. Libraries are a place to run a community out of. A whole communities are run out of libraries on a regular basis. And I was able to see the Annapolis Film Festival last Thursday night, the showing of the movie The Public. I don't know if you've heard about it or seen it, but it's about the libraries throughout the country. And there was it was a sit-in situation, so you should see the movie when it comes out. You'll love it. But there was a great line in there. It says that the libraries are the last great bastion of democracy. And why is that? It's because we cover everybody. We are the great equalizer. We turn around and give something to everybody, whether you like our policies or don't like them. We're here for you too, as well as everybody else. And the county knows what our needs are. We want to keep doing what we're doing as a foundation, but we need the library to help, the county to help us fund what we need to do so that we can put our money towards what we've done. Wi-Fi hotspots, 3D printers, things of that nature. We're looking for 4 new Spanish-speaking individuals for the libraries to help the Spanish population in other places. So we ask you to help us out the best way you can. Thank you, and it was good to see you at Glen Burnie the other day.
Hi, my name is Rachael Juan. I'm just a citizen, and thank you, County Executive Pittman and County Councilwoman Fiedler. Thank you for coming.
Rachel, can you pull that mic down just a bit? So yeah, there you go. Thanks.
All right. And I am here to support the library at the mall, the discoveries at the mall, and there's no more FYE, there's no more borders. They pretty much are the monopoly of the media and books at the mall, and I think it's a good thing to associate the mall with the library and the library with the mall for the entire, the entire county. That's just a good thing to do, and it's a learning space in the mall right now, and that kind of counters the video game space and the play space in the mall. It's just a good, place to have that people can gather together and read, and it also serves all the types of people that I've seen at the mall, all the people the range of the diversity I've seen at the mall. I've seen them all also in the Discoveries Center at the library. And, just sitting down, reading, sitting down, playing with their kids. men and women just sitting down looking at something on one of the computers provided. I haven't seen people yet using the 3D printer, but I know that I'm sure that people use it. And it's just a good space also for the generations as well. I just have an anecdote, I just met a family who also was wearing like something having to do with Hawaii, and I got to talking with them, and they're from a different part, they're from Virginia, and they had come here to visit their grandma, and so they just wanted to congregate at that library, at that Discoveries at the Mall, because that was a good space for them. And it was just a neat experience that it brings so many people together from out of state, from different parts of the county, and so that's a neat thing too. And it's also a neat place to have at the mall, because that collection can change so much, because the people from all around the county come to that mall and can be borrowing and returning materials there. So it can change and be a really diverse collection as well for all who go there. Thank you.
Okay, we'll call again for Thomas or Jacqueline Shade.
Yes, okay.
He's autistic.
And Fido. Okay. My name is Thomas, and I go to the library a lot. The library is one of my favorite places. It's a nice, quiet place. I love to check out books and DVDs and videos at the library. I watch DVDs and videos and read books with my family. We learn about fun things like science, history, animals, places around the world, and fiction. I've been to every library in the county. I have gone to the library and have done homework at the library. I plan to get a job at the library because I'm good with numbers and letters and finding where books should be on the shelf. Please give money to keep our libraries great. Everyone goes to the library. The library needs money to be a great place. Thank you.
Since he only used about less than a minute, anyone who's ever been in an Anne Arundel County library, please stand up at this time. Even though only 2% of our funding goes to the library, libraries cover from age 0 to age 99. And in this audience tonight, there is a gentleman who's 99 years old, Mr. Charlie Phelps, who I do see frequently at the library. I do not work at the library. I volunteer in many capacities. My name's Jacqueline Shade, and my son is wearing, sit down, Thomas, a library shirt from 2008, and I've been attending budget meetings since 2002. I've been here 30 years. But the library is a safe domain. It's safe for everyone. It's somewhere that the Greater Severna Park Council meets. It's places where Boy Scouts meets. It's places where when you need to get away and you've got work to do, like the gentleman said, it's places for moms and tots. It's for senior citizens. It is one of our last places. You know, we can't conjugate at McDonald's. We can be at the library. But I am here also for other needs. They do need the funding. I had a couple suggestions. I want you to look at your education budget. Yes, it takes 51.5% of your needs, but examine how many kids are in private placement. Okay, I have a special needs autistic kid. He went through Anne Arundel County school system and survived. You've got over 500 kids that you're putting in Uber, Lyft, other ways. Each one of those kids that goes to Kennedy Krieger is probably costing you over $100,000. I know this for a fact. That's 2 teaching positions. But more importantly, our school system needs guidance counselors and crisis counselors. There's so many kids that you don't hear about in the news that need these guidance counselors and crisis. 1 counselor per 500 students. How often do they see that? My son was here 7 years. Yes, when you are autistic and you're not diploma bound, you're in the school system to age 21. He saw a guidance counselor once in 7 years. And yes, we have anxiety and we have suicide issues too. But that's how overworked they are. And these kids silently leave the school or their parents move away from Anne Arundel County because of the pressures and stress. Please re-examine and give funding for guidance counselors.
Marilyn Mason.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Marilyn Mason. I've been a resident of Anne Arundel County for over 40 years. I currently reside in Severna Park. I'm a member of WISE, a local group of over 700 women addressing issues in this county. I'm asking that your administration consider allocating monies to establish a deportation defense fund for immigrants living in this county and facing deportation. I ask for this allocation because I believe our county budget should reflect our core values. Guaranteed access to legal counsel reflects the core values of due process, justice, and fair outcomes. Individuals seeking asylum, fleeing trafficking, fleeing economic hardship, fleeing violence, or having overstayed their visas are left to represent themselves in court, often in their non-native language. Though the Sixth Amendment guarantees all criminal defendants access to legal representation, this right is not extended to individuals in immigration courts. Public defenders are available only to those charged with criminal offenses. Legal Aid of Maryland may not handle immigration cases. Excuse me. Montgomery County has allocated $370,000 for defense. Prince George's County has allocated $200,000. Baltimore City, $200,000. Anne Arundel County should be in the company of these municipalities. I'll speak kind of quickly. Most restaurants in this county rely on immigrant labor. Most landscape businesses rely on immigrant labor. Most cleaning services, many crop-producing farms. We are happy to benefit from these services knowing that many of these people are undocumented. It is only fair these workers have access to legal representation. Finally,
I'm going to ask you to wrap up. That was your time.
However one feels about whether one should be granted asylum, a green card, or citizenship, the outcome for any individual should be decided on the merits of his or her case. That can only happen with due process and only guaranteed by legal representation. And I do have a resource for funding for you.
Thank you.
I would be happy to share that with you.
Okay, we're going to call our next 5. We have Phil Ferrara, Philip Miller, Bo Breeden, Richard Benford, and Megan Muisdale. I apologize in advance. Megan Muisdale. Look, okay, Muisdale. Good. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Phil Ferrara from Arnold, Maryland. I represent the Broadneck Council of Communities. 2 comments. First, the Broadneck Peninsula Trail. I urge the county executive and the council to get the Broadneck Peninsula Trail completed. This project has been in the plan for 2 decades. Yes, it is underway, but it is moving slowly. It needs continued emphasis and leadership to make sure it gets done in a timely fashion. Today, we're looking at another half-decade before completion of Phase 3 and the additional connections to the B&A Trail and to Sandy Point State Park. Whether it's funding or contractor problems or rainy conditions, it is important to the quality of the Broadneck Peninsula and the transportation efficiencies that it offers. Both pace and priority are inadequate and need to be emphasized. Second item, final item. The condition and appearance of roads in Anne Arundel County are deplorable. Whether it's signs lying on the ground or in median strips, roads littered with trash, lights that don't work, illegal signs nailed to telephone poles or taped to street signs, or stuck in the ground, and sometimes pavement is in poor condition. The county roads have their problems, but I find generally requests for action receive attention. It's the state roadways of Anne Arundel County that are a different situation. They're filthy with trash, and important safety and direction signs are down in numerous locations. A recent meeting with the SHA was filled with listening and expressions of concern, but nothing got done. We absolutely need the leadership of the county executive and the council to go to the governor, the General Assembly, and the SHA and tell them to cease disrespecting the county with this type of poor performance. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Good evening. My name is Philip Miller. I'm representing the Anne Arundel County Professional Firefighters. I've lived in this county for over 40 years. There's been a lot of growth in this county over the last 10 to 15 years, but what there hasn't been is increased staffing in public safety. Not only not increased staffing, we talk a lot about house fires and how people are, but if somebody in this room right now were to go into cardiac arrest, how many people do you think it would take to try and revive that person? A minimum of 6, 2 of them being paramedics. At stations around this county, you have 2 people on the engine and 2 people in the medic unit. So if the medic unit is out, you're getting 2 people. At this school, brand new school, you're getting 2 people if that medic unit is out. In this big school, how are the 2 people going to get to anybody and save a life? It's just not going to happen. We need you to fund Chief Wolford's budget. We need additional staffing. We need better equipment. The citizens of Anne Arundel County deserve this. Studies from NIST, National Institute of Fire Standard Technology, if a house is on fire, three-person crews put water on the fire 10% faster than a 2-person crew. And 4-person crews put water on the fire 16% faster. We've already had several deaths in this county this year of citizens dying in their homes on house fires. We cannot do it with short staffing. We are selling ourselves short. The county is selling us short. You deserve better. You deserve more staffing, police and fire, so we can protect you and take care of your families. Thank you.
My name is Bo Reid, and I live in Cape St. Clair on the Broadneck Peninsula. I'm a volunteer for the Cape St. Clair Improvement Association, the Broadneck Council of Communities, and Eastern District Police Community Relations Council. I'm here to address 2 concerns to highlight, sort of on the back end of 2 speakers, public safety and infrastructure. I realize there are many concerns the county has to address, but please consider the impact of growth times and the response times in public safety due to traffic, but especially staffing, as just noted, for fire and police, which are stretched thin. We've placed our public safety officials also in health roles here through the opioid crisis, and they are stretched across the board and they need resources. On another note, our network of roads, state and county, for instance, in our area, Route 50, Route 2, St. Margaret's, College Parkway, are impacted by the growth that we've had in the development of the area, but also due to the lack of infrastructure investment. I urge the county to take the lead with State Highway Administration, MDOT, MDTA, regarding a number of the issues that we have integrated in our roadways, including issues and concerns at Sandy Point State Park, along with the future Bay Bridge project that the governor initiated through the Bay Bridge study. Increase in staffing, better roadways, and our better infrastructure should all lead to a better Anne Arundel County. I think you call it the best place now. So we need that investment here in this area. I urge you to take a look at these issues and to fund them at a higher rate within our budget. Thank you.
Good evening, County Executive Pittman and Councilwoman Fiedler. I'm Richard Benford. I reside at 307 South Drive for the past 38 years. I'm a teacher in Anne Arundel County Public Schools in my 26th year. At this current time, I'm what they call a Right Start Advisor, which is a mentor to new teachers. I work at Brooklyn Park Elementary, and Bell Grove Elementary. I work with teachers in their first year, second year, third year, and new hires to the system who have brought experience with them. So every day I see challenges and triumphs my teachers face. I work with them to reflect on their teaching and raise student achievement. For educators in my schools, the job is very hard without having to worry about how you're going to pay your bills and keep food on the table as they travel to Queen Anne's County and other counties to live because they can't afford to live here. Our educator pay has stagnated during the last 8 to 10 years. We saw pay freezes and years without promise steps outlined in our contract with the Board of Education. In that time, many teachers have left our system for higher pay in our surrounding jurisdictions. We've also seen a couple meager increases in our school system, and our school system has fell into the rankings from 6th to 11th, according to niche.com, which puts our county's promise of better schools at risk. The lack of promised pay steps and significant COLAs has left many of our 6,500 educators behind. At this point, I have had conversations with several of my educators I work with about their intentions to stay or go. My goal is to keep them here, but I can't pay their bills and mine at the same time, so several are opting to take the experience they have gained here and put it to use in a higher paying jurisdiction. This is problematic as they are a part of the best and the brightest. We must keep our highly effective workforce here and stop training them to take jobs elsewhere. As you have stated publicly, I hope you will make educator pay, catch-up pay, and COLAs a priority going forward. It is time to do right, to right the wrongs of the past and begin making educators whole again. I'm not naive enough to think that it's all going to happen at once, but it is time to get started. I appreciate your support for our students, educators, and the community.
Hi, my name is Megan Molesdale, and I am a current junior at Severna Park High School, and I'm here to talk about something that affects people in this very building. 5 counselors and 1 school psychologist. That's how many mental health employees Severna Park High School has. Our student body is about 1,800, meaning each counselor is responsible for roughly 360 students. 360, let that number sink in. 360 students with varying needs to 1. Would you let your child go to a school with a ratio like that? Needless to say, counselors are overbooked. How are these counselors supposed to support us or write letters that make us seem like a well-rounded student for our dream college when we are just another number among the 359 people they are accountable for? If you don't see this as a pressing matter, take, for example, the story I've heard one too many times. A student has an anxiety attack due to the overly competitive environment at SPHS and goes to guidance, but their counselor is in a meeting or on duty and they are told to wait. By the time their counselor comes back, or the counselor phones their parents up to days later, they are obviously no longer in that crucial moment. How about a more grave and specific situation, like suicide? Counselors are now readily available to comfort students that lost their classmate. Extra resources are brought in during that painful week because we do not have enough. But when the resources are gone and the students have ideas to promote a discussion to ease their now overwhelmingly visible pain, they are told that under our administration it would never happen. My intention is not to highlight that it is the counselor's fault, because it is entirely not. Those who fail to tackle it are completely at fault. It is simply a budget issue. If you are not able to moderate the stiff atmosphere of the school, you should at least begin by providing more resources to deal with the problematic feel. Counselors know we are the future. They want to prepare us for the future, but without your help, they unfortunately can't. Hire more counselors and school psychologists so that they can do the job that they so laboriously studied to gain. Pay them more so they can spend more time helping us. We are in dire need of help, and that is an understatement. If you still don't think this is an issue, then maybe you have not read the newspaper recently. Suicide in our county is a problem. It is a very recent problem.
Megan, I'm going to ask you to wrap up. Your time has ended.
To conclude, to understaff and underpay those who must console children that lost a friend at age 16 is blatantly irresponsible. To educate children and allow them to barely earn a living is obnoxious. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll call our next 5 names. Next 5. Abby Smith, Catherine Bain, John Jones, Lisa Bender, and John Dawson. If you'll come up and state your name, you'll have 2 minutes, please. Sure, go ahead.
Good evening, friends, teachers, fellow students, and elected officials. I am Abby Smith, a freshman at Severna Park High School, and I'm here with you tonight to discuss the important matter of our teachers and support staff salary. As a community, we believe the education of our students is critical to the future success of our country. Then let me ask you this. Why doesn't society believe if education is so important, why aren't teachers paid accordingly? My mom, a school social worker at Meade High School, is very dedicated to her job and deserves to be paid in proportion to how hard she works and the importance of her job. As a community, we should help give teachers a raise that is 6 years overdue. These teachers are so behind pay that many of them had to pick up a second job. One of my teachers cannot make it tonight because she has to teach night school. We need to make their job secure so they do not go to a higher paying county or leave the profession altogether. In addition, the county needs to attract the best and the brightest teachers to help our students receive the best education possible. In order to do that, we need to have salaries that are equal to other prestigious professions. To conclude, everyone sitting in these seats listening to me speak has to agree that teachers deserve to receive a higher salary. So newly elected officials, let's do something about it. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is John Dawson, and I would like to speak on behalf of the Anne Arundel County Watershed Stewards Program. I've lived in Severna Park for nearly all of my 63 years, and during my lifetime, I've seen the negative effects that stormwater runoff has had on the health of the Severn and Magothy River watersheds. When I retired, I knew I wanted to do something to begin to correct some of the damage that had been done to our local creeks and rivers, but I had no idea where to start. In 2009, I read an article in the Capitol about a new program called the Anne Arundel County Watershed Stewards Academy, which would educate citizens like myself about how to address the negative impact of stormwater runoff in our yards and in our communities. I enrolled in their third class, which is why I've got this spiffy yellow t-shirt, which took a year to complete and involved 6 months of weekly classroom instruction with a variety of guest speakers and 6 months of hands-on learning by completing projects to reduce stormwater runoff. What began as a shared idea between the county's former Director of Public Works, the late Ron Bowen, and Steve Barry, the retired Director of Arlington Echo, WSA has now become a vibrant program which has trained over 200 stewards who have completed numerous projects which have helped reduce stormwater runoff and improve the quality of wildlife habitat in this county. With continued support from Anne Arundel County, WSA can continue to fulfill its mission to educate and train watershed stewards as they willingly volunteer their time to work with local communities, businesses, and churches to reduce stormwater runoff and improve the health of our environment. Thank you.
My name is John Joines. I'm with St. Margaret's, the community, and with the Broadneck Council. I'll skip quickly down through this. I support our teachers. They get a master's degree. They have to continue their education. They put in extremely long hours. I see them at 7 in the morning and at 8 at night working. We need to do all we can for them. Over by Arundel Elementary School, and I know, Mr. Pittman, you've been over there, there's quite a building going on. 5 new communities, silt running into the Magothy like crazy. It's going on all over the county. I've lived here all my life. The creeks and rivers are filling up. You can't dredge them clean. That doesn't work. You're just running a little path down the middle. You got to stop it now. Most of us, or many of us, should I say, moved here for the beauty of the Chesapeake Bay and for the boating experience. I could be living on a golf course shortly. It's filling up. We've got to stop it. Traffic between the Bay Bridge and Annapolis This morning at 6:30, you couldn't move. The trucks were there. Sunday afternoon, you couldn't move. Please put all you can behind stopping the next Bay Bridge from landing in my backyard. I can't do it. This winter, I got the privilege of spending $850 putting a new suspension system in my car. I really don't like those bumps in the road. As one friend tells me, keep Mama safe. Mama jogs on a historic road with no shoulders. We've got to improve the situation. Thank you for all you're putting into it.
Does that work? Good evening. My name is Lisa Bender. I am here tonight to ask for the support and continue to support for several services. I've lived in the Arnold-Severna Park area my whole life. I have seen dramatic changes to the area that have affected all the lands and people who call this home. Our infrastructure is being overloaded. Our roads are crowded, and our schools are overcrowded, and our waterways are becoming polluted. I feel that the core of most of our problems is irresponsible and overdevelopment. The modifications, variances, and violations that have allowed developers to build and leave. We have to hold developers responsible for their developmental effects. I ask that you hire some more inspectors to help to enforce the county codes and regulations. They're too overworked, there's too much development, and not enough eyes. The county should not have to pay for the damage of overdevelopment and irresponsible development. This includes not only the effects of one development, but also the cumulative effects of developments that are allowed. I encourage you to consider the value of our small area plans as the GDP is being developed. The SAPs were developed to guide the visions of our communities, the challenges and the benefits specific to the areas. The GDP and the SAP should not be ignored by development. I am proud to be a watershed steward. WSA has trained many of us to be the environmental advocates in our communities. We share our knowledge with our neighbors to help everyone learn how to minimize their pollution footprints, to filter stormwater with rain gardens and native plants, to reduce erosion, and to gradually help our rivers to heal. I want to thank you for holding these meetings, to listen to the people of Anne Arundel County, and each of us are individual voices, but together we hope to be heard.
Okay, we'll call our next set of names here. We've got Robert Royer, Elizabeth Upladen, Sydney Astle, Lauren Hong, and William Gonzalez. If you'll come up, you've got 2 minutes, and please state your name at the top of your testimony.
Good evening. My name is Robert Royer. I am a resident of the Berrywood community in Severna Park. I am here to advocate for the Watershed Stewards Academy. You had heard before Noel talking about the Pines on the Severn project. Berrywood had a problem with Cattail Creek. Cattail Creek is the most was the most polluted stream in all of the Magathie River watershed. I know that personally because I am the water quality monitor volunteer with the Magathie River Association. For many years, we were frustrated in terms of being able to launch an effort to do this, and it wasn't until we had a Watershed Stewards Academy graduate in our community to help launch this successful program collectively between the Maryland State DNR providing funds, Anne Arundel County, and the community itself, all totaling over $1 million. We're very fortunate right now that even after heavy rains, the stream runs clear. The stream has been reconnected to its floodplain, but perhaps even more important is the community has been reconnected to their stream. Watershed Stewards has done an excellent job in providing all the social awareness of the things that are important with regard to proper stormwater management. WSA is perhaps a perfect metaphor of Fish and Loaves' story of whatever investment gets put in gets turned back manyfold. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sydney Astle. I'm a 10th grader at Severna Park High School. I'm here representing my friends who are participants of the art program. If they would stand up real quick. Thanks, guys. I also am here representing over 1,000 people who have signed a petition showing that they care about the arts and that they want them to be in our school. As of last Friday, we were informed that a number of classes from areas such as classical languages, musical education, and others are no longer being offered at our school, and I believe this is a mistake. The arts are essential to the education and well-roundedness of our community. The underlying issue for which we request your assistance is that our trained musical educators are being forced to proctor study halls instead of providing our students with the training that they need to grow. The reason for this is a lack of funding for the arts programs. It's not only percussion, which is the class I was planning on taking that's affected by this, but classes like French 1, AP Spanish Literature, and Foundations of Dance. Especially after the termination of Severna Park High School's Latin and German programs, the absence of French 1 and AP Spanish are incredibly unfortunate for those who wish to expand their linguistic horizons. Foundations of Dance is the introductory level dance course, and without it, it is impossible to take a dance class without an audition and a commitment to dance company. Our question amidst this turmoil is, why do all the budget cuts come directly from the arts program? Why is it that the theater costume department's storage space was sacrificed for the use of our athletic teams? Why was the storage crate promised to the marching band reallocated to a department that has nothing to do with the arts? Why is it that when study hall is required, percussion class is the first one to go? With more funding allocated to the arts programs, percussion, dance, and classical languages could all be offered, and the space promised to us with the new school could be saved. Unfortunately, this funding has not been available. This is where we need your help. As the council, you have the ability to increase funding for our school and to push for allocation of this funding to go to the arts. Yeah, thank you.
What's your name?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Marilyn Viteri. I will be speaking in place of Lauren Hong today. I am a senior at Severna Park High School and this year's drum captain. In the marching band, that's kind of a big deal. It's kind of like being commander of the army, you know. It's pretty intense. So me and Sydney are tag teaming today, and I'm going to expand upon a couple of the things that he said. A lot of our talent is unfortunately sourced into a lot of the sports teams that are in Severna Park. Unfortunately, that doesn't always mean that the sports teams become as talented as the marching band does. Just recently, our percussion ensemble won a 1 at the state solo ensemble competition, and that has been the trend for the last 4 years that I have been here, with multiple individuals also receiving 1s for solos and smaller group ensembles within that as well. Can you please stand up if you've ever been to a marching band show or if you've ever seen a marching band at a football game and rallied to support them? Like the Severna Park Library, the Severna Park Marching Band is a critical part to our culture. So many people come to see this music, and so many people come back for homecoming to see this group. This group ultimately gave me my attitude for this senior year, which is incredible. And I know that there are so many impacts for every other individuals that come within our group. Thank you. Sorry, okay. No, okay.
She has more. She was just thanking me for giving her the 30-second warning. Very polite.
So, like I was mentioning earlier about the football teams, not to drag on anybody specifically, but I really strongly believe that our funding should be allocated in accordance to how successful our programs are. So, I know you talked about the budget earlier today with 51.3%, I believe, going to education, and how you said that that was a grant to be used at their discretion. I would consider maybe limiting putting limitations on those grants so certain funding should be allocated to certain groups, so not everyone is dragged under the dust and we can continue to thrive as musicians and students. Thank you.
I should introduce Dana Schellheim, who's here from the school board. Talk to her. Any other school board members here? No. Okay.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Opladen, and I attend Severna Park Middle School. Students are our future. Paying teachers is the most crucial and only way to educate that future. Our hardworking teachers deserve equivalent pay to neighboring counties. Too many spectacular teachers leave our county for higher paying jobs in adjacent counties. It is unbelievable that our highly qualified and selfless teachers have to work 2 to 3 jobs just to live here. First things first, close the pay gap between our old and new teachers. It is sickening that more experienced teachers have to work beside new teachers making more money than them. We should be ashamed by that fact. Our teachers are 7 steps behind what they should be. Fix this now for our teachers and our future. By the way, my parents are willing to pay $70 more this year. Thank you.
Hello, my name is William Gonzalez. I actually had 2 questions to pose to you. My first question is, there's supposed to be body cameras coming to the police department. How do you pay for the millions of dollars in storage fees for the police body cameras? I know Montgomery County Police did a study for the costs, and the costs are over $1 million a year for data storage for cameras and state's attorneys to view the footage and edit it. My other question is, how do you plan to pay ICE back for stopping the 287G program that provided over $4 million in 13 months to the county? That money could have helped for the cost of the center.
Okay, we'll call up the next group of names. Kathy Heater, Michelle Cool, Kathy Bain, Allison Cullinane, and Maria Huto. Come on down. Please state your name at the top, and you'll have 2 minutes. You don't have to go in the order I called you. Just somebody start talking.
Very organized. Thank you for holding this hearing. My name is Michelle Cowell. I'm a District 5 resident, and I'm a parent of 2 public school kids. I chose to move here 11 years ago to be closer to my job. Chose Severna Park because of the excellent schools. My neighbors are terrific. My teenagers are blessed to be where they are. But I'm here tonight for all of our county's kids and their teachers to advocate for full funding of the school budget this year. I've watched how class sizes have grown, and I've been concerned by how, in my opinion, the education budget has been underfunded. Over the past 5 years, while the non-education portion of our county budget has increased by 30% due to county growth and associated need for services, the education budget has only grown by 12%. The current budget proposed states that there are over 6,500 classes with at least 30 students. A fifth of those actually have more than 35 students. This has been allowed to happen despite the knowledge that smaller class sizes are directly related to higher test scores and improving learning outcomes for our kids. Perhaps not surprisingly, the Maryland School Report Card, this is put out by the Maryland State Board of Education, shows that our county's middle schools and high schools are now both below average in the state. So if you don't have kids in the school and you don't care about kids' education, perhaps you should still be concerned, because we all know that our property values are tied to how good the schools are. I chose to pay a little more for my house to come here. Realtor.com has written that half of home buyers are willing to go over their budget to get into a good school district. So we need to pay attention to this for that reason. So I'll cut a bunch of stuff out, but I just want to, you asked us to address where all this money is going to come from. No one likes to pay taxes, but I'm just going to say quickly, I am willing to pay taxes. Your budget calculator shows that a small increase from 2.5 to 2.6 can generate $9.7 million. For the budget, this equates to almost 130 new teacher hires. However, Councilwoman Fielder, it does concern me that you stated that you signed someone's tax pledge during the election season. I would be curious to know who sponsored this pledge and why you decided to sign it. I know you've been an advocate of increased teacher pay in the past, and I hope this pledge does not prevent you from a full consideration of what this county needs.
Ma'am, your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you. I was just done.
Thank you. My name is Kathy Bain. I'm a resident of Severna Park and have been for 20 years. I have 2 children in Anne Arundel County Public Schools, one here in the high school and one in the middle school. They were given a 2-hour early dismissal today because the teachers were getting a training on equity. I found this to be quite ironic. The teaching staff in Anne Arundel County are possibly the most inequitable workforce in the county, if not in the state, and maybe in the country. There's a table in the document that we've given you there which shows that there's 2,551 teachers in this county who are more than 2 steps behind where they should be in pay. There are many teachers who are 7 steps behind and have lost over $100,000 in earnings in the last 8 years. They teach besides younger, less qualified teachers from other counties who earn more than them. How demotivating. No wonder we have a net hiring loss. Good teachers don't want to stay, new ones don't want to come here. What adds injury to this insult, I feel, is that despite Mr. Pittman's attempts to make this budget process more open and give more information, and we very much are thankful for that, we cannot establish how much the exact problem is going to cost to fix. We have asked for the information, we have put in a public information request, and we can't get precise numbers from the Anne Arundel County Schools as to how much this is going to cost. We've done some estimates, we've also put them in your file there, and we calculate that it'll cost close to $25 million to get teachers to where they need to be and get rid of the inequities. I think this is a small price to pay. TAC says the number is close, and I believe it is. However, there is always a cloud of secrecy surrounding this, and I would like to know how in this day and age, with open data at the county level, an elected board of education, and a county executive who ran on transparency and equity, how is this possible? I have 3 asks tonight. I would like to ask TAC if they can publicly commit to resolving all pay inequities for teachers through step increases before COLAs. I'd like to ask Mr. Arlotto and TAC to open the negotiation process. You are negotiating taxpayer money, and it should be transparent. And Mr. Pittman, I would like to ask your leadership to stop this finger pointing and have a fully transparent process. Thanks. I know you are a farmer, and they say you are very cheap. I'm sure you're not going to write a check without knowing where it's going.
Thank you, Kathy.
Good evening. My name is Allison Cullinane. I'm a resident of Severna Park and a part of this group that's talking in favor of teachers and filling those gaps that have been campaign issues in the last year. And I'm here to talk about the county revenue, the revenue possibilities. So, as you said, Mr. Pittman, Anne Arundel County is the 3rd wealthiest county in Maryland. We've got 24 counties, and we are behind only Montgomery and Baltimore County. On our taxes, however, we are number 22 with regard to the income tax. We are behind 22 of the counties in terms of how much we pay. We pay 2.5% on the income tax, as Mr. Pittman said, and that puts us well behind virtually everyone. The same is true with regard to the property tax. We're number 20 out of 24. Many people think that this is something to strive for. However, we've been experiencing the impacts to the community of underfunding for some time now. Teachers, counselors, firefighters, these were campaign issues and are still critical needs this year. Many people think we can't raise revenue because of the tax cap, but we're actually 78% below the tax cap. The tax cap is 3.2%. If we raised it to that, we would have $68 million. Now, I'm not saying there are a lot of needs here, but just think, if these are our recommendations, which are in the thing in front of you, we could bring all class sizes to the recommended amount of 26 or less by hiring 348 teachers at $26 million.
Ma'am, your time is up. I'm going to ask you to summarize very quickly, please.
Okay. Achieving parity in teacher pay, $23 million. Meeting recommended student-to-counselor ratios of 250 to 1, $10 million. Provide enough firefighters for 24-hour coverage, 55 firefighters for $3.6 million. Adding some mobile response teams, a total of $65 million and 3.17 income tax.
We have your document up here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mariah Hutto, and I'm a lifelong Anne Arundel County resident. My son, who's sat through this meeting so far, is a third grader at Severna Park Elementary School, and I've been in awe of all of his teachers. I'm not a wealthy person, but I would gladly pay more in taxes a year in order to pay teachers what they deserve and keep excellent teachers in the county and attract excellent teachers to the county. I also want to add that I've grown up in Anne Arundel County and in Severna Park, and I know that this is a county with deep racial inequality, which is both historic and systemic. In addition to teacher salaries, I would like to see funding in the budget for mandatory implicit bias training for all county employees. The nature of implicit bias is that it's often unconscious, and good people like you and like me, and like I can be a perpetrator of implicit bias even with the best of intentions. All of you say that you want true fairness and opportunity in Anne Arundel County, and I believe that that's a necessary step in that direction. Thank you.
Kathy Heater, do we have Kathy Heater? No? Okay. We'll call our next five then. Lynn Tracy, Jim Snyder, Meredith Gray, Jessica Osband, and Dennis Henratty, please. Remember, please state your name at the top. You'll have 2 minutes.
Hi, I'm Lynn Tracy. I'm here to talk about support for Anne Arundel Community College. I've lived in Severna Park for 20 years. I've been a full-time faculty member teaching mostly chemistry at AACC for 23 years. I was a part-time faculty member for 2 years. I've been active in our shared governance process, currently chairing the Faculty Compensation Committee. I've been a mentor for faculty, a mentor for students, and I'm currently an AACC parent. My son is now a student at AACC, and he is a Severna Park High School band alum. Go band. So I know AACC from many different perspectives. And what I know is that we are an excellent institution with high academic standards and a culture of continuous improvement where innovation is the norm. We serve the community in so many ways, but our main mission is to prepare students for whatever comes next in their lives. Their first job, a better job, transfer to a four-year university. This is a challenge because our students have a widely varying backgrounds, from traditional college student right out of high school to mothers coming back to school after raising their families, from students who already have a bachelor's degree to students who are first in their family to ever attend college. Consequently, our students have a very broad spectrum of needs, both academic and otherwise, but we are willing and able to provide personalized support, which is constantly evolving because of our ever-changing student population, and this is where we excel. Innovation is crucial. Self-reflection and strong desire to always get better drive us to help every single student achieve their personal goals. As one example, I've personally been involved with a major effort to improve student success in General Chemistry 1. We've made significant changes to how we teach the course, including a complete transformation of the lab. What we're doing makes a difference. Over the past 10 years, student success rates in this course have increased by 20 percentage points. This translates to about 60 or 70 additional students succeeding in the course every semester, removing a barrier to completion for a large number of students.
I'm going to need you to summarize, please.
Gotcha. So this is one course, one department. It's happening everywhere. To continue our excellence, we must attract and retain excellent faculty. So please, please fund our budget. Thank you.
Jim Snyder, my question concerns the gap in teacher pay between junior and senior teachers. It's a large gap and a growing gap, and the take on that gap is quite different than what we've heard here and what we're hearing in the public discourse in the county, and to settle this perception as to whether the gap is growing in the way that I'm suggesting, which is that junior teachers are being paid much less than they should be in relationship to senior teachers for similar work. I would recommend that you provide better data to the public so they can understand the distribution of compensation in the county. The GSP-SC meeting recently, several months ago, I asked you and Amanda, did you know what the highest compensation was for Unit 1 employee in the county? And you both said no, which was no surprise to me given how the data is made available in the county. Not only should you know that, but the rest of the county should be able to determine that by having a clear distribution of salaries among Unit 1 employees that is publicly available. A school board member not too long ago requested this data from the superintendent and the public information officer, and they would not give it. It took a year, and he had to go through the lawyer, the school board lawyer, to find out this information. That is obscene. A school board member not even being able to find out what the top salaries are, that's unacceptable. I would also encourage you, when you put up your methodology, like your 76,400, you put up the numbers, give the public the methodology. There's a lot of controversial assumptions in any methodology to determine compensation. The public should be entitled to know what the methodology is. There's not just this, there's a lot of statistics that the county provides that are highly subjective and often very misleading. We should be entitled to understand the methodology you use when you generate those numbers. So we should get a distribution of compensation so we know from the starting teacher to the most senior and where the real median is. And we should be able to understand the methodology. And for more than a decade, compensation gap has been growing, and we should be able to understand it. I think it's grown to far too large proportions, again, contrary to the framing that we've been getting.
Hi, my name is Meredith Gray, and I live in Severna Park with my husband and 2 kids, both of whom are in the public schools here, although that's not my topic tonight. We, and when I say we, members of WISE, the environmental community, and the 2,500 plus signers of the petition have been with concern watching the commercial proposals for the Crownsville Hospital grounds, including the most recent Chesapeake Park proposal carrying a $278 million price tag for the county. You know what the concerns are with that proposal. Mr. Pittman, you've stated that with so many other needs in the county, obviously, you see such an investment by the county unlikely, and have supported the idea of a community solar farm. So we're anxious to hear your plan of how the Crownsville Hospital grounds will be addressed, hopefully taking, based on input from the residents. And Ms. Fiedler, we also hope that you will support a responsible use of the facilities.
Hi, I'm Jessica Osband. I'm currently a student at Anne Arundel Community College, and I'd like to start first by thanking County Executive Mr. Pittman and Councilwoman Ms. Fiedler for hosting this meeting. When I feel listened to, I feel cared about, and as if my thoughts and opinions matter, both as a resident of this fine county and as a student. The college is more than just a place to learn. It's a place where academic goals are met, opportunities are endless, and growth happens. It is a pillar in our county that engages and unites the surrounding community and its students. My journey with Anne Arundel Community College started in 2006 when I began my college education early through the Jump Start program offered between the college and my high school, Broadneck Elementary. Go team. Since then, I've had the opportunity to study and experience medieval history throughout England with Dr. Tangwall of the History Department. I've attended national conferences hosted by the American Institute of Graphic Arts with speakers like NASA's imaging group lead Zoltan Levy, thanks to Eric Dunham of the Visual Arts Department. My journey has led me now to pursue medical assisting within the college's renowned medical program. I'm taught by working professionals in the medical field like Professor Hunt, affording students like me firsthand knowledge and up-to-date experience. The education and opportunities available at the college are incredibly influential and critical to both students and the surrounding community. As a result of various academic programs, resources, and the inspirational faculty, students of any age and any background are encouraged to follow their dreams and their passions. But more importantly, they are able to do so. Everything the college is and everything it represents would not be possible without its fine faculty and staff supporting their students, or without the numerous opportunities and programs within reach. I'd like to encourage you, Mr. Pittman and Councilwoman Ms. Fiedler, to support the college's budget request, as it will help support the extraordinary faculty and staff, as well as allow further students and future students to prosper. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jenny Zito. I'm the mother of 3 graduates from this high school, and I work as an applied mathematician. I'd like to talk to you about education funding, and I'm very grateful that both of you have expressed a commitment in education and that you're transforming the way that we think about things, and you've already come so far in the process of sort of figuring out how to do that in a sensible and logical way. So 25 years ago or more, we moved to this area because of the public school system. That was our reason for moving here. Unfortunately, the quality of the education around here has fallen relative to other counties because we have not made the investment. And this really is an investment. It's not wasted money, it's an actual investment. So I'd like to talk to you about a couple of points that have been touched on by some of the people already. So one of them is competitive salaries for our teachers. It's really silly to let quality teachers leave our area and then we have to hire back at a higher rate anyway. So why lose these amazing teachers that we have? It's short-sighted. Another one is class size. It's proven that classroom size has an effect on how much achievement children have. We should be making less stress for our teachers, that we would have less emotional issues, and it actually pays back. The third one I want to talk to you about is quality early childhood education, so preschool for 3- and 4-year-olds. This is a really important way to change the cycle of poverty. So especially in our poor communities, if we could provide this kind of education, it's known to have an enormous effect. So a few years ago, the state of Maryland had a study where they studied preschool in our state and also across the nation, studies that were done, and they showed that on average, the government gets back $5 or $6 for every dollar they invest in pre-kindergarten. But it's even more extreme when you're talking about impoverished areas. Children graduate from high school, they own cars, they pay taxes, they don't go on welfare, they don't get incarcerated, they don't turn to crime.
Your time is up. Can you
Okay, I'll just finish it up. And this, we have an opportunity to change people's lives and give back to our community as well if we make this investment. Thank you for both for thinking.
Hi, my name is Dennis Hanratty. I'll try to get you back on schedule here. I'm here as an advocate for the library staff. I'm very pleased to hear so much attention given to the library and the programs and so forth. And I'm also happy to hear advocacy for competitive salaries for police officers, firefighters, teachers. I think that's all a great and wonderful thing. With a little transparency here, my daughter works for the county library system. She's a graduate of Severna Park High School, magna cum laude graduate from UMBC. Worked for the county library system for a couple of years part-time, had the opportunity to get a full-time job a couple of years ago, absolutely loves it. I was kind of shocked when I saw that her beginning salary in a position as a library associate, which requires a college degree, was about $16,000 less than the equivalent of a brand new teacher with no experience in the county public school system on a 12-month schedule. So I would suggest as you look at your personnel system, there's kind of a jagged tooth display there about how things work for college graduates. I think our education is important. There's a lot of advocacy for that here tonight. We want to bring college graduates back to the county, make them civil servants. I think that's a great, wonderful thing. But you look at the library staff, we heard about wonderful things they're doing. These folks are educators, they're IP professionals, they're public safety officers. their social service workers. They're doing a lot of great things there. So I would hope that you would take a look at that, appreciate the contributions they're making to the county. And they don't have unions, they don't have marches on Annapolis. They don't have the kind of advocacy that we need. They toil in anonymity, really. So I asked the question, who advocates for these folks? And I do, and I hope others will as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, folks, we have about 25 more people just signed up. That's 2 minutes each. It's about 20 minutes till. So, just letting you know, we still got some folks to go, and we want to hear from everybody. So, I think the county exec and the councilwoman can stay a little past 8 if they need to, right? Yes. Okay. Very good. Very good. All right. So I'm going to call the next names, and remember, 2 minutes. Please state your name. Jolinda Craver, Kevin McLean. These next few, you have dashes, not check marks, so I think you want to sign up, but if you don't want to speak, you don't have to. Leslie Krusenberg, Holly Hill, and Stephen Hill. Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Jolinda Crivero. I live in Millersville, and I am not a longtime county resident. As a matter of fact, I've only been here 1 year, which gives me the perspective of noticing what I don't have in my community from what I used to have in another community. And I know the library's been done almost to death here, but I'm doing that too because I feel Millersville is a stepchild. We had a post office. Of course, that's not relevant here, but it burned down and it did not get replaced. Not the whole thing burned down, but anyway, no services. We don't have a senior center. We don't have a library. And Millersville is just kind of like a geographical area. A library does anchor a community. It makes it feel like if you don't have a main street, you somehow have a main street. And it's a great equalizer, as other people have said, all ages, but also what they didn't say was all economic brackets, and that's important too. And if you're technologically challenged, they can help you there. If you need some information, it's got a lot of things. I don't want a big, beautiful library. I know that costs a lot of money. The one in Odenton is beautiful, but I'd be happy with a storefront, kind of like what's in Pasadena now. I know they're supposed to get a new one, and Severna Park wants to get a better one, but we don't have any. And somehow that doesn't seem quite fair. Just a vest pocket. Now, you said, how are people going to pay for things? First off, I'd be a lot happier to pay a little more taxes if you give me something. I'm going to be complaining if I feel I don't have much. The second thing is we have so many empty retail spaces around the area I live that put a little something there. Not only do you help the person who owns that empty property, but other merchants around it get more business. That's great for the tax base. Thank you very much.
Ms. Crivero, I think, is that what your last name was? I just wanted to address your comment about the post office in Millersville. I did reach out to Anthony Brown's office, the congressman for that area, and they're supposed to start working on that in April to rebuild. That's the answer that I got, so I wanted to let you know.
Hi, I'm Kevin McLean. I live on Kinder Road, and my backyard backs up to Kinder Farm Park. I'm the crazy guy who wants the dog park at Kinder Park, and I've been doing this for 2 years now. I came on July 2nd, I came and testified before the County Council on Bill 5818, which was the capital budget for recreation and parks. I objected to the lack of thought that was given to dog parks and how they're placed and how they're constructed. It was very compelling, I'm sure, because each of the members of the board or the council voted in favor of this 5818, and it passed. And then magically it was withdrawn. So I don't know what happened to the dog park money after that. So Recreation and Parks has done a feasibility study on constructing a dog park at Kinder Farm Park, and the cost would exceed $600,000. I have no idea why this is so expensive. If it costs that much, I really don't want it. So what I'm here to tell you about is that, you know, I'm like everybody else. We all want something, right? But I don't want to overpay for that. and I want it done in an efficient manner. So when you have a project that costs $60,000 plus or minus, and you come back with your experts who say we need $600,000, you got a problem, right? Can we agree? So I went into the Recreation and Parks budget further, and I'm not picking on them, but we probably should have never bought that golf course because it started out at $5 million, it's $9 million now. Every project in there is 15 to 25% add-on for planning and engineering. I thought we had planners and engineers. Early Heights Ranger Station is now going to be $1,000 per square foot to rehab. Now, the houses on the Severna are not $1,000 per square foot. Thank you.
Okay, same with these next names. They had dashes, so I'm not sure if you want to sign up, but Donna, Barnaby, and Phil Henry. No? Okay, we'll go to the next 5. Juliet Page, you're co-listed with Greg Page. One or both of you can come up. Ellen Oakes, Jennifer Lynch, and David Dull. Come on down. 2 minutes, and please state your name.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity. I'm Ellen Oakes, and I've been a teacher for over 20 years, the last dozen in Anne Arundel County. When I moved back to this county, I made the decision to work at a high-poverty, high-need school with commensurately higher out-of-pocket expenses to me. I've done everything in my power to uphold the contract I signed with this county, teaching 184 students in many classes that are over 30 this semester. But unfortunately, Anne Arundel County has not upheld its contract with me. I'm over 5 steps behind in pay, a product of the recession. But when the recession ended, our county government, our school board, and our union, unfortunately, decided to withhold my foregone pay to make more appealing offers to recruits from outside the county. What has that meant to me? Well, my one son is a senior in high school this year, and we were working out his college expenses after scholarships. And the money that I've lost out of loyalty to this county would pay about 3 years of his college and a 5-year architecture program that he's planning to go into next year. That's a serious hit. I'm very hopeful for this budget year. I want to see equity pushed. We need the leadership to tell our school board that that has to happen. I did bring my 6th grader with me. He's in the music program, so I want to say, yay, music program, go arts. Middle school got a 1 also. All right, thank you.
Hi, thanks for listening to us. I'm Juliet Page. I've been a Master Watershed Steward for 10 years from Class 1. In my professional life, I'm an environmental engineer. I've lived on Mill Creek on the Magathie River for more than 20 years. Yes, the Mill Creek of sewage overspill fame. I'm here to support the Watershed Stewards Academy. Since I've been a steward, I've helped with and observed the installation of numerous rain gardens, living shorelines, rain barrels, and larger stormwater conveyance systems. Over the years, I've worked with students at Broadneck High School and Severna and Magathie River Middle Schools. In that time, I've witnessed the increase in environmental awareness of the kids, and yes, of their parents too. When my daughter Alexandra was in middle school, she's now graduated college and is working as an environmental scientist. We organized creek cleanups, we planted rain gardens, and hung maps in the school foyer that opened the kids' eyes to just how close the creeks and waters are everywhere surrounding them. We worked with DPW after the sewage spill to design and implement a headwater restoration plan, and with community support, we raised oysters and underwater grasses to help Mill Creek. And this winter, after 12 years, yay, the final stage of headwater restoration was completed. A big part of WSA is helping educate our neighbors and community friends about the importance of clean water and stormwater runoff and help them improve their own properties and neighborhood areas to improve water quality in our creeks and rivers. 10 years ago, I used to get asked, what's a rain garden? Now I get questions like, what plants are good for my rain gardens and what can we do on our common grounds in our community? Our discussions across the fence, at picnics, and at the bus stop has improved environmental awareness and the health of Mill Creek, the Magathie River, and the Chesapeake Bay. The past few years, there have been glimmers of water quality improvements, visible especially after it rains. So we are on the right track. The Watershed Stewards Academy has been there every step of the way. I encourage you to support the Watershed Stewards Academy to help fulfill the outreach and education components of the Anne Arundel County MS4 permit. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Greg Page, and I'm not a watershed steward. I am the husband of a Class 1 watershed steward. From that special position, I've been able to witness the rapid and extreme growth of the Watershed Stewards program and even larger growth of community members reaching out to the watershed stewards to learn how they can make improvements to the quality of life in their own communities. Watershed stewards educate, mentor, and empower all members of the community to learn how to improve the problems where they actually live. WSA and watershed stewards are a multiplier. Each steward reaches out to many communities and even more members in the communities, greatly expanding the base that can work with their own hands to improve the communities where they live. I encourage the continued and expanding support of WSA and the Watershed Stewards program. Thank you.
Dangers of being too tall. Good evening, Ms. Wheeler, Mr. Pittman. My name is David Dahl. My mother and I moved here when I was 14, and so I went to Severna Park Middle and Severna Park High. I actually graduated here only when I graduated, this was a football field. I'm also an employee at the Department of Public Works in the Roads Department, and I just found out that my boss has been promoted, so Greg is no longer my supervisor. But I wanted to speak on behalf of the Anne Arundel County Libertarian Subcommittee. Mr. Pittman, at the Crofton Forum last year, I asked what your message was for the Libertarian. We're about 1% of the voting population, and I really appreciated your response about being frugal and about regulations and trying to peel back regulations. Mr. Hsu tried to tell people that we, the Libertarians, we don't believe in government. And I don't know where he got that from, but we believe strongly in a limited government that has certain priorities, and especially at the county level, we think that is education, transportation, and emergency services and public health. So when I hear people talking about their concern for the watershed, I'm totally on board. When the teachers think they're being underpaid, I believe that they should get what they need. But when individuals want a tennis court or a dog fence, I think that maybe they could find alternative ways to fund that so that we can better properly fund our priorities, which should be the road systems, saving our environment, and education and our emergency services. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Lynch. I've been a resident of Anne Arundel County for 15 years. I'm here to ask the question of our elected representatives. What good does it do to have good schools, clean air and water, good EMT services, good counselors for our children, if our government, in the form of our public library, is corrupting our youth at its very core? I'm talking about outrageous programs recently put forth by our Anne Arundel County Public Library, most notably the Drag Queen Story Hour. If you're not familiar with this program, I beg you to please do some research and look at what happens to children when they come to the Drag Queen Story Hour. We're talking about children who are 3 to 6 years old, coming into a closed room in a library, which is supposed to be a friendly, innocuous place to get out books. They have to sit there and watch a man dressed up as a woman, reading books that confuse who they are as a boy or a girl. They have to sit there and listen to this. It's disturbing. I've seen videos of it happening, and children run to their parents because they're scared. It's scary. These are all aimed. There's also a program in the library just now. My daughter went to the library the other day with my husband, and she was shown the current reading challenge. So to earn a badge to be a good reader, the library requires that children read a book written by someone that encourages acts of sodomy. We wouldn't enjoy the freedoms we have here at this town hall or anywhere in our country without the sacrifices of God-fearing men. How are we using that freedom? To encourage virtue among our children or to encourage the most heinous of vices? I please ask that you recommend no additional revenues for the library until the board fulfills its obligations to protect the innocence of our children and immediately discontinue the Drag Queen Story Hour and the component of the 2019 Reading Challenge that requires pro-sodomy literature by children to meet the Good Reader Award.
Ma'am, that's the end of your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll call up the next names. Terry, this is a tough one, Kotkowitz, John Korn, O'Brien Atkinson, Sue Young, and Patricia Aquilina. If you'll come up and please state your name at the top, 2 minutes.
Hi, I'm Terry Kotkowitz, and I'm a professor at Anne Arundel Community College. Thank you for spending a little extra time tonight. I'm here to support Anne Arundel Community College's budget request. In 2008, I joined Anne Arundel Community College as an adjunct professor. I was assigned classes at their satellite campuses in Glen Burnie and Arundel Mills. These classes were part of the workforce development program where adults needed additional college credits to move ahead or get promoted in their jobs. It was an eye-opening experience for me to see the dedication and passion of these students ages 18 through 60, the passion that they had for their studies. I taught a very diverse group of people. Many were from families where they were the first to go to college. Some were single parents. Most were working full-time jobs, going to school, and had full-time responsibilities at their home with their families. I would often say that 3 full-time lives don't add up, and it's more than one person can handle. With the support that they received from the college, they were successful and happy to earn their credentials. The students were able to accomplish so much because of the flexible hybrid schedule that AACC provided. This meant that meeting the professors face-to-face once a week and finishing their other classwork online through Canvas, our learning management system. Last year, I joined the college as a full-time professor. I thought I knew a lot about the school, but having taught over 300 students as a part-timer, oh man, I gotta speed it up. Okay, I wanted to tell you stories about wonderful students that we had and the energy that they give to the school, but mostly I'm very proud of the community college, the leadership that has been shown through Dr. Dawn Lindsay, the dedication and innovation and creativity of the faculty members, and the energy of the students, that I'm inspired every day to be the best teacher I can be. And I often give recommendations for students in their jobs and give them recommendations for them to continue their education in a 4-year university. That I really believe that Anne Arundel Community College is the greatest asset for Anne Arundel County. Thank you.
Hello, I'm John Corin. I've learned by Anne Arundel standards, I'm a new guy to the county at only 8 years. But I am all in on transportation, as I think all 3 of you know. I chair the Anne Arundel County Bicycle Advisory Commission. I'm the president of Bike Advocates for Anne Arundel County. I'm on the Transportation Commission. And we cannot pave our way out of our traffic problems. We can add lanes, and all that does is bring more cars. We have got to embrace a multimodal transportation strategy that makes it safe, attractive, equitable, economical for people to choose ways to get around other than by automobile. Nationally, 40% of trips are under 3 miles. I would thank former Councilman Trumbauer as our past champion for multimodal transportation, and I will thank County Executive Pittman and Councilwoman Fiedler for your future support for multimodal transportation. There are small amounts of money that we can put in the budget, like in Public Works, to do road markings that are very, very inexpensive, that make it safe for people to have biking, walking, other options, transit options. We also need in the county to spend a little more money on pursuit of grants and management of grants so that we can bring more money. There are big pots of money out there that we can bring more money into the county. We are resource constrained on our capacity to bring that outside money in. I think you know I'm personally all in to work with the county, and I want to see the budget, our policies, our processes all aligned, and as you embrace this multimodal transportation strategy. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Sue Young, and I am a mother and parent of 4 students in Anne Arundel County. We currently have a student that's getting ready to come to the high school, one who's getting ready to graduate from the magnet program at South River, and we also have 2 students, 2 of our children are in college, in public universities. I'm also coming to you tonight as a local elementary school counselor. I belong to MISCA, which is Maryland School Counselor, and ASCA, which is American School Counselor Associations. I have regularly sent myself to national conferences to better my craft. I have a master's degree plus 30, and I am one of the employees caught in the gap. I am 4.8 steps behind in my pay, and as I mentioned, I have 2 students, 2 of my own children going to college, a 3rd one is on the way. I also wanted to share with you a little bit about the particular needs of elementary school counselors. I have 620 students, 620, and me. That's it. We are in a school I work in a school in Edgewater. We have 5 regional specialty sites, so in addition to what I would consider the general education population, we have 35 to 40 students who are served in our regional specialty sites, which involve extensive special needs, and their families have additional extra needs as well. We do not have a social worker at our school, so when it comes to a family needing cricket team services or other services, the wraparound kinds of services, it's me. When we are applying the laws of Aaron's Law and the, Aaron's Law and the Start Talking Maryland Law that we are teaching in in the secondary schools, it is the health teachers. At the elementary level, it's me. So I am working very hard to reach those students. I work, I'm active in my professional organizations. I work very hard, but we do need more additional school counselors. We are the ones that are at the foundational level to address these needs of student needs, and we can make a difference. So I invite you to talk with me further if you have any other questions or ideas about how we can work together to address the need for more school counselors and also the inequity and pay gap for some of us. Thank you.
Good morning. Or, I'm sorry, good evening.
It hasn't been that long of a meeting, Obi.
My name is O'Brien Atkinson. I'm a tax-averse Christian dog owner who loves books, tennis, and clean water. I live in this district, and my daughter, who loves the arts, goes to one of our great public schools. However, I'm here as the president of our Fraternal Order of Police, representing our Anne Arundel County police officers. The last testimony I gave, I talked about how our pay and benefits were attacked and cut by County Executive John Leopold, and how we're still trying to get out of that trap. What I didn't talk about was the fact that in addition to that, he also cut our authorized strength for the police department from 690 to 653 sworn officers at that time. That was 10 years ago. We were already struggling with staffing, and we continue to struggle with short staffing today. I attended a public safety forum at that time after the murder of a teenage boy in one of our local communities. County Executive Leopold addressed a crowd of angry citizens who were outraged and wanted to know what the county was going to do for them. He said calmly that in poll after poll, when Anne Arundel County citizens are asked, they consistently state that they'd rather see the government make cuts than raise taxes. I was shocked, as I think was the crowd. Unfortunately, that seems to have been the mantra year after year. I've seen cuts at the hand of every county executive that we've served under as a police officer, and enough is enough. The fact is, no one really misses undercover narcotics detectives whose ranks were decimated before the opioid crisis, and our police department we'll always have officers show up at your door, even working forced 12-hour days, so that we can accommodate that. That concludes my testimony. I've talked before about perhaps addressing some of the fees that our county has had in place to combat the unsustainable growth, and I think that would be a great start to addressing our needs. Thank you.
Okay, Patricia Aquilina, no? Okay, we'll move on to our next group. Pat Lynch, Priscilla Cania, Paul Spadero, Maureen Carr York, and Jenny Zito, who may have already gone. That name seems familiar. Yes. Okay, butted in line there, but that's okay. We still love you. Go ahead, 2 minutes, and please state your name.
Hi there, I'll stay under 2 minutes today. I'm Priscilla Cania. I live in Arnold, and I've lived here for just over a year. So I have 2 big ticket items that I'm going to mention, and I'm sure you're not going to fund them this year, but I want you to think about these, okay? I am a member of the WISE Environmental Huddle, and we really are trying to look at environmental issues. A big thing to think about is electric school buses. Also electric transit buses. But if you look at electric school buses, an all-electric bus is cleaner, healthier, and often cheaper than a diesel bus. Each electric bus saves $2,000 a year in fuel and over $4,400 a year in maintenance. So over time, they pay for themselves. The other issue I want to mention is composting, and I've spoken to the council about this before. And I thank you very much for passing the EPS foam ban. That was a terrific accomplishment. Yay! So what I'd like to ask is that the council start studying the programs in Montgomery County and some of the other areas where they've done a great job to develop a good comprehensive composting plan. And if we could develop a plan and then maybe next year start creating a budget to go along with that plan. Both of these programs will require funding to implement, but both will pay for themselves over time. So they're really, really important. The only other thing I wanted to mention is about the schools. You know, my daughter, one of my daughters is a teacher, and she's a teacher in Howard County. And for her to transfer to Anne Arundel County, she would have to take a $10,000 a year pay cut, which is absolutely ridiculous. But the other part of that is I want you to think about the school aides. The school aides are really underfunded as well. So it's not just the teachers and the counselors, and it's the, you know, your paraprofessional people that need to get a better increase in pay. So thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Pittman. Ms. Fiedler, thank you for hearing us tonight. My name is Maureen Carr York, and I'm a 30-year resident of this area and the president of the Greater Severna Park Council. As both of you know, one of our major concerns here in Severna Park, and particularly among members of the council, is the uncontrolled growth and development and resulting damage to our environment and to our way of life here in our area in particular. We would like to encourage, funds permitting, for the hiring of some additional staff for planning and zoning and for inspections and permits. These areas have been neglected for a long time. As people retired or left service here in Anne Arundel County, their positions were not filled, and they could use some help in answering the concerns that many of us have about how development proceeds and whether the necessary safeguards are being followed. Another thing that our council is very concerned about is education. We would encourage you to look carefully at the budget and try to fund those areas that are most needed for the welfare of our young people. We're also concerned about public safety. Encourage you to look closely at fire and police funding. And finally, we would like for you to continue the efforts that we've seen so far in listening to the community and taking the time to hear our concerns. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Paul Spadaro. I'm president of the Magothy River Association. And I'd like to take a few minutes, 1 minute really. First thing I want to say, though, I was really impressed with the young people that came out tonight and participated in this forum. I mean, that was just refreshing that they are taking and learning how to become active citizens. And the Magothy River Association, whom I'm president of, is perhaps the only environmental organization that each year, and we're a volunteer group, offers 2 scholarships at Anne Arundel Community College to train our young professional students to be our environmental leaders of tomorrow. And it's refreshing for me to actually see these young people participating. I could be talking a lot of things tonight about environmental issues, and the Magothy River has just had its index, and it's pretty much a low D grade. But I'm here to talk about one little point that I think we need to consider. We all live in Anne Arundel County, and some of us live on the water, and some of us don't live on the water, but most of us don't live on the water. So I'm here to talk about public access to a very precious thing. We need more public access. We cannot. People come to me and say, why should I pay taxes? I live a block away from the Magothy, I can't use it. We need to continue funding some public access. Could be a small, modest amount, but at least give these people the same rights so when they ask, and the message is simple. My message is, if you can't save the Magothy unless you have access to it. And more people that have access to it.
That's a great place to stop, Paul. Your time is up.
That's good. I'll take it.
Mr. Pittman and Ms. Fiedler and Chris, it's good to see you. My name is Pat Lynch. I'm president of the Broadneck Council of Communities, and I'm very happy that almost my entire board was here today to speak to you. We represent 10,000 citizens of the county, and we also have multiple priorities for the Broadneck Peninsula that I want to cover with you today. I'm also on the County Executive's Citizens Advisory Committee. I'm a member of the board for the Growth Action Networks. And very importantly, I taught here at this school in 1967, and I'm not sure if any of my students are here, but I'm overwhelmed with the grandeur of the new buildings. It was a happy memory. Priorities for the Broadneck Peninsula: transportation, stormwater, environmental preservation, and services. 2 things on transportation, and you've heard me before. First of all, we want the power of your office to support our rejection of the 3rd span of the Bay Bridge to be positioned on Route 50 301. Secondly, we want completion of the Broadneck Trail, as John Corn has already discussed. We need $6 million for Phase 3. We want the entire trail and all 5 phases funded. It should be completed by 2024 for all the reasons that John has already spoken to. On development, we need to raise the impact fees to 100% that will support roads, schools, and services. We also, after a multiple-hour meeting with planning and zoning, inspections and permits, we're asking for funding for staff positions for planning and zoning and inspections and permits and Department of Public Works to bring in more engineers and inspectors to inspect. The main topic of our conversation was stormwater. It's a destructive force in this county. We're drowning in stormwater. We need more inspectors. We need more engineers to come in and help us know what
designs are flawed, and to go out and check the stormwater facilities to be sure they work.
Pat,
we need the two.
up.
My time's up?
Yeah.
Can
We
I
got the gist of it, though.
Can I just thank the Anne Arundel County Police and tell you that they have volunteered their time for the last 3 summers at $50,000 a year in order to take care of Sandy Point State Park, because the state police will not step up to it.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're going to call forth what may be our last group. Let's see how this goes. Julie Bresson, Amy Leahy, Jeff DeCaro, maybe. Okay, this one's tough. Maybe Olivia Le, Jim Bateholder, and Jen Nelson, and Holly Kleiderlein. Let's just call everybody. That's the list. So if you heard your name, please come on up. 2 minutes.
Hi, good evening. Glad to see everybody. My name is Amy Leahy, and I'm also on the board for Greater Severna Park Council, also on the Citizens Advisory Committee for Mr. Pittman's new committee. Thank you very much. I'm going to repeat some things that other people have already said. We have a lot of overgrowth and development in the area. I, too, have been attending meetings where we've listened to communities throughout the whole county talk about the problems that they've been having with massive water runoff. I spent 2 years in constituent services under County Executive Laura Newman, and in that capacity, I became very involved in both the Broadneck area, Arnold, Severna Park, and Pasadena with some of the constituents and concerns that they had, and a lot of it had to do with the impact of water on their homes and on their property from development that was going on around them. So I've seen, I've talked to people firsthand, so it's a big deal. I, again, am going to stress that we need more planning and zoning people who can spend time notifying the community, because we see a big gap, a gap in how much time, notification time, that people have when it comes to community meetings so that they can find out what's going on in their areas. There's just an inadequate staffing that is allowing for the community to find out what's going on. Also with inspections and permits, because we actually need to have more inspectors who can look at what's going on these construction sites and make sure that the water is not adversely impacting the surrounding communities. And also, I'm going to put in my little plug for, I hate paying a rain tax and having the water go into the rivers and into the bay by the development that we are paying to have to clean up. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Pittman, Mrs. Fiedler, and Mr. Trumbauer. It's nice to be here, and thank you for having these forums so that we have an opportunity to speak to you. I'm Holly Kleiderlein, the school counselor at Oak Hill Elementary, right around the corner from here. This is my 19th year as a school counselor. In the budget he submitted, Dr. Arlato recommended 10 additional school counseling positions, with 3 designated for elementary schools. One of the board's amendments was to add school counseling positions, but they didn't specify the level. Anne Arundel County ranks 21st for student-to-school counselor ratios, only ahead of Baltimore City, St. Mary's, and Washington counties. The American School Counselor Association recommends a ratio of 250 to 1. Anne Arundel County has 36 elementary schools with ratios of more than 500 to 1. 18 elementary schools are above 600 to 1. I have 691, right around the corner. People make a lot of assumptions about working and living in this zip code. Every day, elementary school counselors, including me, are addressing issues of homelessness, hunger, depression, anxiety, opioid and other family addiction, abuse, neglect, suicidal ideation, etc. Please preserve the money that's in there for school counselors, school psychologists, and school social workers. We have a school psychologist who's there 2 days a week. We have 691 students. Their recommended ratio is 1 to 500 or 700. That's how out of whack we are. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Olivia Lee. I'm 15 years old, and I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here on behalf of the public library. As a public school student, I recognize that not every student will have all the resources that they need. I believe it is the role of the public library to fill those gaps and allow our students to think, to grow, and to continue to allow our economy to grow. However, as our public libraries continue to shift from a product-centered focus to a service-centered programs in a technological age, our budget should reflect forward-thinking changes and forward-thinking solutions. According to a 2017 assessment, Severna Park Public Library had no sprinklers, problems such as sagging roof tiles, dim lighting, a roof with a history of leaking, and oxidating exterior doors. Growing up with the library, I know it seems like the library is a permanent figure in our lives, like George Washington or like Twinkies, but please think of the library and consider the students as you allocate funds. Furthermore, I'd like to speak for schools again as a student. Many music programs are currently being cut, and just as books have allowed me and my peers to thrive academically, music has had a lasting impact on the development of my personality. I hope that you will consider the musical development of our students, the communities that we developed, and give them the attention for which they ask. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Pittman, Ms. Fiedler, and Mr. Trumbauer. My name is Jeff DeCaro. I wear many hats, one of which is all three of my kids went to school here. We lived here for 25 years. Now we live on the Mayo Peninsula. But my son was on, not this stage, but the one at the old high school, and played in the rock and roll revival, and then went on to be a professional musician. So do fund the arts. That's important, okay? That's one. Two, the reason I'm really here is about the Tennis Alliance that I've been a board member of for 6 years, since it first incepted in 2013, and we've been doing this, trying to get the funding for that long a period of time. Mr. Trumbauer remembers me sitting in his office asking for the money. The good news is it's in the budget, so we are just asking you to keep it in the budget. I'm also very sensitive to stormwater management issues because I'm the president of my homeowners association, live on the South River. I see all the silt and sediment go into the water, so that's important. Good news is the area where this tennis center is going to go is farmland for the most part. We're not taking down any trees. It's going to be environmentally friendly. It's going to serve the entire county, probably even a larger area than that, and it's important. I think that one gentleman said, we don't need a dog park. We probably do, but I saw tennis courts in our community be taken down for a dog park. I like dogs, I like pets, but we're talking about human exercise and activity, and thank you. And I think it's important for the quality of everybody's life to do something athletic or exercise-wise. I just read an article the other day about a 91-year-old gentleman who died a few weeks ago, Russell Fink, and he played tennis until basically his last week of life. So it does keep people fit mentally and physically, and I think it's important. So please keep the funding there. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that concludes the sign-up list. Now, believe it or not, there were one or two of you that didn't sign up, and you are invited to come up now. If anyone else would like to have 2 minutes to address the councilwoman and the county executive, please come up. You can stage in the front rows or in the aisle. And remember to state your name and give 2 minutes, please.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity. My name is Rusty Gowland. I live in the community of Linstead, just right around the corner. And with all of the talk about we need to hire more people in permits and engineers and people to oversee all of these projects, I look at it this way. You know, we wanted to talk about how to fund changes. The reason that people live here that have a decision to live here, they come here for the schools, and they come here for the water. That's what we need to invest in. What's deteriorating both is growth. We don't need more people to oversee the permits. We need fewer permits. I know it's not an easy thing to say I'm anti-growth, but I'm anti-growth. When I moved here, I anteed up to live in this community. The community keeps changing and not for the better. When are we going to wake up to this? Thank you.
Step right on up.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Heater. I am a teacher for Anne Arundel County, but I also wanted to say I realized how much older I was, and I didn't think I was that until I looked at the fact that I came to Anne Arundel County in 10 years, when I was 10 years old. And so I've been here, a member of Anne Arundel County, for 46 years now. And I loved our school system so much that I wanted our children to be here. And I have had such wonderful teachers and principals and everyone throughout the years they convinced me that I too should become a teacher. And I do love this school system. And I just know that our county does love their teachers. Tonight, just sitting here and feeling the love from the students and the community, I can't speak for everyone, but I just really do appreciate hearing that. And I have been so busy absolutely loving what I do that I really wasn't even, I'm ashamed to say, not necessarily paying attention to my own future in a way. And tonight I'm sitting here listening to colleagues who are saying they've been here for this amount of time. I'm in that group. So I heard someone say about $100,000 that could have gone towards their kids' education. I have to tell you, part of my story, I was married for over 30 years, but when I was no longer married, I found out really quickly that living on a teacher's salary is very hard. And unlike Mr. Shu, who thought it was a good idea to couple up, I decided that I was just going to go out, and try this on my own. Found out I couldn't rent anything, and I had to settle for a $500 room a night, or I just lived in my camper in a friend's, driveway. So there's so much more I could say, but I just wanted to say thank you, and I hope that you can do whatever you can to give us our fair market value as educators. And I love my job. Every day I get up. I can't wait to see my kids. So please remember us and take care of us when we're not paying attention to our own futures sometimes.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kathleen Jarbo. I'm chairperson of the PAWS organization. That's People and Animals Who Serve Anne Arundel County. It's a therapy program, pet therapy, people therapy, children therapy. We take children to see people in nursing homes, hospitals, all kinds of facilities. Okay, we're strictly funded by the Department of Aging and Disabilities, so I request that you please fully fund that particular budget for the Department of Aging and Disabilities. And the other question I have is, where's the money that the live casino is supposed to be given Anne Arundel County? That money is supposed to be put toward, I thought, education, but nowhere do I see it in any of your budgets or anything. And when you read about it in the paper, it talks about all this money that the casino is making, and they got all these tax cuts to build that big hotel over there, okay? But where's the money we're supposed to be getting in the county, and it's supposed to be put towards the education? And so if we have money for that for education, some of that little bit of money could be put somewhere else where it's needed to fund for things for the county. So that's the thing I had to say. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sage Casperson, and I am here as a parent and as a teacher and as a homeowner altogether. So my big request is that you fully fund the Board of Education budget that they put together, including all the additional positions that were put in there and the closing the gap on the pay. So as a parent, I have a student in second grade and one coming into kindergarten. And I know that my daughter's elementary school lost 2 positions, so that caused her second grade class to go from 20 to 27, which when you're 8 years old and maybe interested in school is a big deal. I know it has caused a big impact on her life, so I'd ask that those class sizes be looked after. As a middle school teacher, I have 40 students in my science classroom repeatedly. This is the third or fourth year going on this. And anybody who has been around a bunch of 13-year-olds maybe knows that 40 of them together in one place is less than ideal, and I think that our students deserve a lot more than this. I think that we can do better for them. I think that they deserve better. So I'd really ask that you fund those teaching positions, including the ones that are for additional class size. So I want to thank Ms. Schalheim for being here also, because I know this is a concern of hers. And then my second concern on the budget was the teacher makeup steps. I also fall into that category of people who are missing steps. I have taught in this county for almost 14 years, 13.9 or something, and I have received 5 step raises. So that puts me 7 to 8 years, depending on the restructuring. So I would suggest that. As for suggestions for funding, I think there's 2 things. One is that we can fix pay gaps before we give everybody a COLA raise as teachers, that we bring up those who are the lowest. And secondly, as a homeowner, I am willing to pay the slightly higher property tax that puts us in line with the rest of Maryland in order to pay for these things. So thank you for hosting these, and thank you for listening. Good luck.
Good evening, County Executive Pittman and Councilwoman Fiedler. I'm Russell Leone, and I'm an elementary school teacher and president of the Teachers Association. Tonight, I stand before you to ask that you fully fund the education budget. Over the course of several weeks, you've heard the needs of our teachers. We understand that funds are not unlimited, but there is still much repair to be done from the recession of 10 years ago. I'm not here to speak about our negotiations, as we are currently at the bargaining table with the Board of Education, and it is with them that we must come to an agreement. However, I do believe I must be clear about one thing. We have many teachers, and the amount currently requested for salaries and wages will not make everyone whole in 1 year. But this is the year that we must do as much as we can. As I wrote in this week's Capital Gazette, we know that increasing educator pay is crucial. Statewide, educators make 86 cents on the dollar compared to the professions requiring similar degree education. This is a driving factor for why teachers need to hold 2 and 3 jobs. This, compounded with the fact that Anne Arundel County teachers' pay has not kept pace with surrounding counties, is the reason cited for many leaving. I don't think there have been many weeks during my term in office so far that I haven't heard a teacher say, if there isn't movement this year, then I'm out. This year, we must move forward. My colleagues are much too valuable to the future of our children. I also wrote in that article that we believe you will explore every possible avenue to provide the best as you can for the educators in our schools. We love our libraries, our firefighters, our police officers, and communities, and realizing that crafting a budget for the needs of the entire county is not an easy task. However, properly educating our children will prepare them to be strong community citizens. And for that reason, we need to do all we can to treat our teachers who are part of our communities and know your families with the respect they deserve as professionals. This means securing strong funding for our schools and paying educators at the level that is equal to the value of the investment they have put into our communities. Thank you.
Okay, folks, last call. If you want to do public comments, come on up to the front. 2 minutes, and please state your name.
Sure. Hi, my name is Morgan Mitchell. I am a student at Anne Arundel Community College. I'm 28 years old, and I live in public housing. So I just want to talk about, or tell you guys, maybe you should look more into the teaching. Yes, I support teachers in Anne Arundel County and public schools, but I'm a Marylander, and I've been through private school, public school in Maryland, and even having better spaces to do homeschooling and making homeschooling available, or better ways for families to learn together instead of just, the kids learning in the classrooms and having all these counselors deal with the burden because of issues. We don't know about those issues, and I think families need to be learning more together with their children. And yeah, that's kind of my stand. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you all very much. We're going to end the program tonight with some brief, I'm sure, closing remarks from Councilwoman Fiedler, and then the county executive will close us out.
Well, shorter than most people. I see some library employees here still, so I really feel compelled to acknowledge the fact that I have overdue books. I have emails in my inbox. You will get my monthly contribution due to my late fees tomorrow, and the books will be returned. I also really pride myself in knowing my district pretty well. I'm a very active participant in District 5. I have children in the school system. I have a dog, had dogs. I use the parks. I acknowledge we need more recreational opportunities. I was a little worried that I would come here tonight and hear about something that I did not know was a burning issue or need in District 5. I'm very relieved to know that my pulse on this district is accurate. So I thank you for coming out and sharing your views and where you would like to see the priorities in the budget. Again, thank you for coming out. I know it isn't always easy to stand in a room. I've been down there for 4 years, so I appreciate you taking the time to do this tonight. It certainly helps me when it's decision-making time to make those decisions, knowing that your voice is in the back of my mind. I've taken 4 pages of notes. I need to get better at that. The executive has only taken 2 pages because he writes much smaller than I do. Okay. 3 pages, but I still am using a little more paper than he is. So thank you again for your time, and always reach out to me with any questions or concerns. I really want to be accessible to you and make sure that we're running the county the way that we should be. Thank you.
Only I can read my notes, though, because I have terrible handwriting. But I did make a few notes that I'm going to try to look at now. First of all, just y'all did great. I think we had the highest turnout. I thought South County was number 1 in 130. We had to have been, I don't know what we were at. Does anybody know? Do you know, Jen? 245 people. Wow. Okay. Yeah, congratulations. And we definitely had more people talking tonight, which might say something about Severna Park, but this district knows how to speak for itself. And the other thing about this district is that you all are well organized, and having the Greater Severna Park Council here and Broadneck Council of Communities here, and the organizations in a community really matter. And I said in the inaugural address that I did that if you want to have influence in this administration, it's not who you know, it's not how much money you have, it's organizing, it's getting together with your neighbors and speaking up. So you all did that tonight, and it works. Believe me, when I hear those budget requests from the departments, what goes through my head is what I've been hearing in these meetings. So it's not forgotten. People talked about development a lot, and I know it's a big issue in most of the neighborhoods here. And a couple of people even mentioned impact fees. I would point out that somebody in our budget office kept track of how much money Anne Arundel County did not collect on impact fees from new development because of a decision made in 2009 to use impact fees that were about half of what the consultant told us we should charge. There was a consultant hired to tell us what impact fees should be based on the impact. And actually, most of that was roads. It was $127 million. Over $100 million of that was for roads and things that we could have done. I mean, you can imagine all the things we could have done with that money. So there's no question that we're looking at raising impact fees on development in the county. We're also looking at raising, raising some of the fees on some of the permits that the developers have to get, but they won't feel it. They're doing fine. Most of them are regional. The big developers they want to be here. We don't have to worry about that. On development, there are things that we can do to slow down growth. For one, saying no more often, not giving some of the modifications that have been given and variances. And I think some people have noticed that that's already been happening, but we hired an environmental policy director. We're coming up with a long list with the Office of Law and Chris Trumbauer, who's our policy director, coming up with a long list of ordinances that we can look at and hopefully pass that will make some real change. One is a forest conservation bill that'll make it a lot tougher for them to cut down trees to build new subdivisions. looking at the adequate public facilities. The roads have to be adequate, not only the schools, but also the roads. So if you're contributing to traffic, the answer is no, you can't build. We're also, we got authorization from the state, and we're going to bring it to the county council to limit campaign contributions from developers when they have their applications pending. And when community groups are trying to get standing to be able to challenge some of the projects that are going through, they're being told, no, you can't have standing. And so we're going to do an ordinance to make sure that community groups can get standing to be able to challenge these projects, and to have a lot more information available to people so that you can click on a map and find out what the project is, what the sub-application is, where it is in the process, so that groups like the Growth Action Network and all of you have a much easier time, or any citizen has an easier time knowing what's being built in their communities. I gotta say, you know, education tonight was probably the #1 issue. Everybody was talking about schools and funding the education budget. And here's what I will say, is that the superintendent did an ambitious budget, knowing that I had been elected, and I was on the bus in the march just a few weeks ago, teachers all across the state, 8,500 teachers. And they were demanding funding from the state for education. And the state has said, we want to invest in education, the Kerwin Commission. I'm not so sure that they're brave enough to step up, but what we did is we went to the Speaker, Bush, and we said, look, we're ready to step up in Anne Arundel County, and we want to make sure, we know we're going to be asked to match the state money that they do for the Kerwin Commission. We want to make sure we get credit. So we got legislation passed that makes sure that whatever we do this year on the education budget, because this is the year I'm planning to step up, that gets matched in future years to whatever we do at the state. So we're going to get the state to move forward. We're going to move forward at the county council, at the county level. At least I'm going to try. It's going to be in my budget. And I would just point out that the school board's budget request, which was higher than the superintendent, and that's what we're looking at, is the school board's budget request, was passed unanimously by a bipartisan school board. So Democrats and Republicans said yes to this budget. And, you know, when people have been talking about some of the teachers have been talking about the step increases they didn't get. For those who don't know, these were in their contracts. These were promised to these teachers when they were hired. So when we don't restore their step increases after a recession, we're violating their contracts. Other counties figured that out. We've not figured that out yet, and we need to step up. We heard from some firefighters. Some of the other budget town halls have had a lot more firefighters and people talking about the shortage that we have in firefighters that are going out on some of these trucks. And there was a SAFER grant, a federal grant that we almost had in our hand a few years back, and it got rejected by the county executive. That would have hired 50 new firefighters. And I just, for the first time publicly, will announce that our fire department submitted a grant to the federal government on Friday to hire 70 new firefighters, which is a big chunk of what we're going to need, and that will provide, if we get that funding, that will provide a lot of help for us to move forward on fire. And we've also, you know, we've talked about police officers and getting to the 825 that the International Association of Police Chiefs said that we need in this county to catch up with the growth and the development that we've had. We're still under 700. We have a great class in the academy that's coming through. I jumped in the Chesapeake Bay with them doing the plunge. They're a very spirited bunch, and we think that we've got things set up. There's a better contract for the police officers, so hopefully we're going to be able to recruit faster, get them through the system, and catch up so that our police officers are not working 12-hour shifts against their will anymore. Libraries are our community centers. We don't really have community centers in Anne Arundel County, and I was at the Glen Burnie Library yesterday, and the place was packed. I mean, I couldn't. It's one of our bigger libraries. It's not big enough, but they're really serving the community, and we've got to step up. And I have to say that we had a good turnout from the community college, and I always say that it's one of the most underappreciated institutions in Anne Arundel County. They're the folks that are getting people from high school to jobs, folks that aren't necessarily going to go to four-year college, and it's absolutely essential that we maintain the best community college in America. So thank you all for coming out. Stay informed, stay involved, keep telling me what to do, hold me accountable, hold you accountable, we'll hold each other accountable, and let's get this done. Thank you.